In 2011, I had done How the Witch Doctor Stole Christmas. It was a 4-part movie that I did, which was meant to take place between the events of Savage Planet and Breakout. At this time, the Breakout sets had just been announced, and they were not really released yet. I mean, they were somewhat released, but it was pretty much just a slow process, and I think that my local stores did not have them available on the shelves at that time. But I had already seen the images that were posted online about the upcoming sets, and I even had it be discussed about at some point during the early portion of the film. It's just too bad there are just some people that did not know that the movie came out before the Wave 2 sets had been announced. I just really hate it when people don't check the dates before commenting. Anyway, a number of you guys may also recall that I used to do quite a number of different MOCs that were the same as the YouTube user JangBricks. I happen to have been a huge fan of JangBricks at the time, seeing him do all of these different reviews and doing all sorts of different MOCs. And I had created some of them over time. Some of them have stuck around while others have been disassembled. And I had thought to celebrate the 10th anniversary of How the Witch Doctor Stole Christmas, I could do a highlight of the MOCs that I currently have built that do come from JangBricks, as well as showing off my own Hero Factory Hero MOC, this being Christmas 2.0. Now, something I should also add on is that Christmas, as he is now, looks very different from how he was before. So, how different is he? Well, here he is. This right here is Christmas 2.0, how he is as of 2021. He looks very much different from his initial appearance. He doesn't have that visor anymore because I needed it for my Raka 2.0 MOC. And he also has some slight body armor changes, such as having the upper 5 long size white armor pieces on his upper legs and the 3 long size red armor pieces on his lower legs, instead of it being vice versa, except for the colors. And one reason for that, along with the fact that the armor piece on his lower left arm is different, is because I didn't want him to look like another hero. He initially looked like Raka 2.0, except he was red and green and white to match with the Christmas theme. But I decided to change him up a bit and make him look very much different. And he does look pretty cool. I will admit he doesn't look as cool without the visor, but, you know, I just did not want to make another custom Raka 2.0 visor, and I didn't want him to really look like Raka anymore anyway. So I decided to just have him be without a visor altogether. The weapons that he is carrying are also different. Do you remember what he originally carried? That is right, he originally carried a Kopaka weapon piece, which I needed that for my actual Kopaka, as during the time that I did How the Witch Doctor Stole Christmas, I did not have many of the official Bionicle sets be built up, but there was a point in time at which I did decide to bring back every single one of the official Bionicle sets that I had, since they had been disassembled for quite some time. And of course, as a result of that, a number of my MOCs who depended on those parts pretty much were affected, and Christmas was no exception. This is also the reason as to why he isn't carrying the same shield as he used to. He used to carry the same shield piece as Kopaka, but since I rebuilt both original versions of Kopaka as well as, well, the other versions of Kopaka that had come out, I gave him the shield piece that came from the 2.0 series, along with these red weapon pieces that came from the Agori sets in Bionicle 2009, the original generation of Bionicle. So that is why Chris Mast looks much different from how he used to look. And I do remember that I also had done other versions of Chris Mast, like a breakout version and an XL version, but neither of those are currently assembled. I took them apart, both because I did not think that there was any point in having them around anymore, and also I really wanted to use their parts for other MOCs. So, pretty much this version of Chris Mast right here, this is the only version that I have now. And I am just fine with it. There have been a number of people that have done their own versions of Chris Mast. A couple of people had built Chris Mast based upon how he originally looked, and well, I also remember there was another user who built a MOC called Chris Mast, which was obviously meant to be the same as this Chris Mast, but he was built very differently. I can't remember how differently he was built, but he was obviously built very differently from what I had gotten. And I also remember that there was another user who had built Chris Mast somewhat in the same way that I did originally, with the only difference being the visor, since, as you may recall, on the original Chris Mast, the visor that he wore was a modified version of the Breeze visor, which was made to look like Rocka's visor in Hero Factory Savage Planet. But he did not want to cut up a visor, so he just went ahead and used the original Breeze visor, because that was as far as he wanted to go with making his MOC. And it's alright if he doesn't want to do some customizations on some pieces. I kind of been feeling a bit neglective of doing it myself during the early days of mocking, but sometimes you just gotta recolor some pieces because they just don't really exist in the colors that we want them to be in. So this is pretty much how Chris Mast is now, and probably will be how he will be for all time. I don't think that I will ever disassemble this MOC or change him up. This is pretty much going to be how he will look from now on. Now, getting on to the MOCs that I had made based upon what Jang Bricks has made. As I said, I did build some of them, and some of them are still around. Others had been disassembled since then. But I will show off the ones that I do still have around. Although this is only for hero characters, I will also point out that I do still have Garus made, but I am not at all right now that 100% about how he appears. I mean, he doesn't look completely like the way that Jang Bricks had created him, and I'm kind of thinking of maybe fixing that, but I may worry about that like after the new year. But for now, I'm just going to go over the hero characters that he had made that I had recreated. So, starting off, we have probably one of the most well-known Hero Factory MOCs that came from Jang Bricks, and this being Spectre 2.0. Spectre is quite an interesting looking character. I do remember that he was the first 2.0 series hero MOC that Jang had created when the 2.0 sets had first come out. And that was like in winter of 2010, like the 2.0 sets had come out in December of 2010. And he actually looked over Spectre 2.0 as if he was an official set. And I also remember that in that video, he actually had an instruction booklet as well as a canister lid added into the background, kind of to try to trick the audience into thinking that this was an official model. Although there probably are a couple of things that could give the hint that it was just a MOC, such as the pieces they used for the weapon being outdated, since he used the older pieces from pre-2008 instead of the more updated versions that came out in 2008. The version that I have right here fixes that, making them look more like how they would be if it was an official set. But, you know, I'm not quite sure if this would be a pretty good special edition set, considering that he is built using parts that already exist. Like, there are no custom parts on Spectre 2.0 at all. Just uses quite a lot of good parts that we do already have, such as using quite a lot of the gunmetal color, which mostly came from the villain sets, such as the gunmetal armor, especially the piece that also is used on the villain characters, you know, with his upper arm, because I don't think any of the heroes at the time used that piece at all. I'm not sure if they ever had. I haven't really checked to see if there had ever been any official hero sets that did use that piece at least once. And another thing that people happen to have really liked about Spectre is probably the purple color. And, well, I don't know. Just quite a lot of good stuff with this character. Like, I think that the blue and the purple and the gunmetal really work out together, and I also think that the visor that is used, which originally came from Breeze, really works out with this character as well. Almost like this actually should be Spectre's signature visor. Like, this pretty much should not be Breeze at all. At least that's just my opinion, at least. I personally would say that Spectre is like the Toa Lazovic of Hero Factory. And it does make sense, considering that they pretty much wear the same mask as the then female protagonist of that series, since, as you may recall, Lazovic wore the same Kanohi mask as Toa Mari Holly, while Spectre in turn wears the same visor that Breeze 2.0 wears. And I had also seen a couple of the other MOCs that Jang had done based upon Spectre, but I think that I like the 2.0 version the best. Like, the others are okay, although I don't entirely understand about the Breakout series version, or why, you know, you probably should go check that out for yourself to see what I am talking about, since I can't show off any images that Jang has made because of copyright. So that right there is Spectre 2.0, the specialist in stealth. And it is quite a shame that it wasn't ever officially released as a set, but then again, maybe that's a good thing, because we can actually build him using any parts that we already have. The next hero that we are going to be discussing about is Alba 2.0. And, well, I gotta say, she is a pretty impressive looking character, with all of the white that she has, just a lot of the white color. And, you know, just kind of the backstory that she has, or kind of the general story that she has, with the idea that she likes to tease Verno with the goofy goggles that he has, and actually attaching those to her own weapon piece. I'm pretty sure that the lightsaber blades that I had used for my Alba 2.0 MOC are not the same as the the originals, like what is supposed to go on there. I think that they are supposed to be in the standard blue color, but I have them in a lighter blue, and I think that was because at the time I did not have any spare dark blue ones, and I didn't want to bother purchasing any off of Bricklink. I don't know if I actually have those now, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I have because I think that looks alright. What I find interesting is that, unlike a lot of the other hero characters, Alba uses some armor pieces that are in her secondary color. Like, she is mostly white, but she has lime green for her hero core and headpiece, but she also has it for her upper arms. I know that some people who had watched a lot of my older videos probably are thinking, oh, well, is her first name Jessica? You know what? I don't think it is. I am not gonna go on that bandwagon anymore. It pretty much was just a whole sort of thing that fans had thought up at that time. But Jang said that she has nothing to do with Jessica Alba, so I don't think that Jessica is her first name. So I'm not gonna just accept that it is. I'm gonna accept that it is not. Just thought that I would throw it out there. Pretty much it doesn't really matter as to what these characters' first names are. I know some people have come up with some suggestions, but Jang has never really made any official confirmation about what these characters' first names really are. Or at least not with every one that he has ever made. Now, I also remember that I did make my own interpretations of how Alba could look in other Hero Factory series. Like, I think I remember doing a breakout version of her where I just took a Nex helmet piece and spray painted it in a lime green, which I actually used for another MOC. But then I decided to use that for a breakout style Alba, since she uses the same visor as Nex. But, you know, I have since disassembled that, and that mask is not in any use right now. I don't know if I ever will put it into another MOC, but, you know, I do still have it. So, not really much more to say about Alba, just another character from Jang Bricks. Let's move on. Next up is our good old hodgepodge hero, Blanco 1.9. Again, it doesn't matter what his first name is. So Blanco is a bit of an unusual hero, and he also was one of the fan favorites among all of the different characters that Jang had come up with, being made of multiple different parts, and, you know, he's not meant to really look all that good. Like, he's just supposed to be, as I said, a hodgepodge of different parts. Like, he has one normal foot and one ice shield foot, and he has the same weapon piece as Bulk, which I did purchase another one of these weapon pieces off of Bricklink, so I have that and my Bulk original series Bulk. But I didn't put another arm inside of it like I did with my Bulk, as well as Stringer and Stormer, because, well, I think that the great thing about Blanco is that, you know, he was made to look incomplete, or made to not look as good as he could be. You know, because of how he is built. You know, with the stubby arm, which actually does kind of look like it's about the same length as how his weapon arm looks. And there's also the hero core that is just always sticking out, but I do remember that when I first built a Blanco 1.9 MOC, I actually had the hero core be positioned in the right way, but after a while I decided, well, it's supposed to be sticking out, so I just decided to have it stick out like this. Although it doesn't look like something that LEGO would actually do, like just intentionally have the hero core be sticking out, or they wouldn't do anything like this, at least as far as I know. If they did ever do something like this, do let me know. And I also think that's the choice of using Furno's goggles works out pretty well because of how goofy looking or freaky looking those goggles are. I just think it really works out for Blanco. And much like with Alba and Spectre, I did also make other versions of Blanco, such as a breakout version of Blanco, but that is disassembled now. And I did more recently reconstruct a Blanco XL, although he's not the same as he was originally. I did make some modifications to that one, and I will show you that later on in this video. So that right there is Blanco 1.9. On to the next one. This next hero is one that you may or may not remember, but we'll just see about that. Anyway, this next hero is Rick Max Fist. Jang Bricks did a video showing off the Hero Recon team. You know, how at that time you could actually go at lego.com and design your own hero and actually purchase it. And that was what Jang had done for getting Rick Max Fist. I do remember also getting Rick Max Fist in the same way, although I do remember that I had the idea of actually purchasing him along with the Savage Planet creatures in December for Christmas time, but then we got the announcements that they were going to be retiring the Hero Recon Team exclusive armor piece, which would be way too late for my original plan. So I was like, oh, that totally wrecks my plan, so I guess I better purchase this guy a lot sooner now. And I think I also ended up purchasing the Savage Planet creatures from my local Walmart. Anyway, the version of Rick Max Fist that I have right here is very different from the original Rick Max Fist, in that I actually modified him, both because I think he looks better this way, and also because I didn't have all of the parts that I needed to reconstruct him. Like, I think that those weapon pieces that he was carrying originally I had used on my Rocket 2.0 MOC, because those weapons were the same weapon pieces that were used in Evo 2.0's weapon and also on Surge 2.0's weapon. And that's really the only other place I can think of as to where those weapons could have been used for. So instead, I had given Rick Max Fist the sword pieces that were included with the buildable action figure Batman set that came out in 2012 around the same time as the breakout sets. And another difference that I made is that he now has two white hand pieces instead of having one white hand and one silver hand. And another thing that is different is that I used some armor pieces that actually came from Bionicle G2. The main body piece, the red one, that came from Tahu, and the silver armor pieces on his shoulders, those came from Onua. So I just went ahead and used them for this updated version of Rick Max Fist. I'm kind of convinced that Jang did not really have any plans for Rick Max Fist other than just having the parts for him. But, you know, he pretty much does hold a nostalgic feeling for the Hero Recon Team sets, and I went ahead and brought him in for old time's sake, even if I did have to make some adjustments to him. And he does look pretty cool this way, so now I'm going to move on to the next one. Next in this countdown, we are taking a look at Barabbas 3.0 for the Savage Planet series. Barabbas is a hero MOC that was made for the Savage Planet series, who is primarily using the headpiece from the Fangs set. Fangs was the name of one of the villain creatures on the planet Quatros. Now, if you actually have the Fangs set and do also have the 2.0 or 3.0 heroes, you may recall that there is no real proper way of getting those headpieces to fit onto a hero head, and you would be right. But the way that I have it done here, which is also the way that Jang had done it, is that I used a black rubber band to hold the headpiece down. The one that I used is actually not one that came from Bionicle, but it is pretty close. I got a bag of these black rubber bands, which work in the same way as the black rubber bands from Bionicle. I got to them from Hobby Lobby, I think. You know, just to kind of use in the same way as the black rubber bands did in Bionicle, and that is what I have done here. So got in the Fang's head to fit onto the Hero Factory hero head, and Jang Bricks did do a video all about attaching these headpieces to the hero heads. So if you want to try this sort of thing out yourself, you can go check out that video. And this hero is a bit shorter than what Jang had done. Jang had made him be very tall compared to other heroes because of the size of the mask, kind of similar to how Rocka's mask was very big compared to the rest of the heroes, almost a bit too big, at least for the normal version of Rocka. So it pretty much is kind of a downscaled version of the Barabbas 3.0 that Jang had made. But I think that's just fine. I think that I just decided to have it be more like how an official set would have it be done. Like maybe if LEGO had decided to release a special sort of piece that allows the Hero Factory, Savage Planet villain heads to work as actual masks for the heroes. There you have Barabbas 3.0. Now on to the next one. Next up is Lennox 3.0. This is another hero that uses the headpiece from one of the villain characters, and in this case it is the mask that came from Scorpio, the scorpion-like creature from that same line. And much like with Barabbas, Lennox is also built differently in this version, in this interpretation, than what Jang Bricks had done. Like for starters, you may recall that Jang had used the original Hero Factory hero feet for his MOC, but for this one right here, I went ahead and used, do you know where those feet pieces came from? Do you know what series they came from? Well, they came from the Toa Metru series. But do you remember what set had these feet pieces in lime green? Do you remember? What's that you say? You don't remember what set they came in lime green? Well, that's because there is no official set that had these feet pieces re-released in lime green. These ones are actually painted. Yep, they are actually painted. I did not have any spare feet pieces from the original Hero Factory series, since when I made Lennox before, I used the feet pieces that came from my original Breeze to make him. But since I have my original Breeze built up, I needed to have something else for the feet, and I didn't want to bother just purchasing another set of feet from Bricklink. So I went ahead and took a couple of the spare Toa Metru feet pieces that I had and spray painted them. But everything else on this MOC is pretty much official, the official color that it was released in. And Lennox's mask is also attached similar to Barabbas' mask, just using a black rubber band and a full-size bushing. You can learn more about how that is done in Jang's video about attaching these masks to the hero heads. And another thing that is different about this version of Lennox is that While I did use the same translucent green armor pieces that came out with the hero sets during Savage Planet, I did also use some translucent bone pieces that actually came out with the Bionicle sets that came out much later, like the translucent lime green bone pieces that came with Pohatu, and the lower translucent green lower arm pieces, which I can't remember what set in Bionicle G2 those came out in. If I do remember during editing, I may put up the name of the set in which they came out in. So whatever it says, that is what set they came from. Lanik is quite an interesting one, over the fact that he's meant to look like a bug. Like, he doesn't have any armor on his lower legs or lower arms, which makes him look a bit more bug-like. And I think that the fact that his own eyes are actually covered up by the Scorpio mask just kind of makes it look as though the eyes that are already on the helmet are now meant to be his eyes. I can see that. I think that works out pretty well. And I also think that one of the armor pieces, one of the shoulder armor pieces, what I have here, I have used both of the 5 long size armor pieces that were introduced in Scorpio, but I think one of them is supposed to be one of the more wider armor pieces that came from Breeze. But I just went ahead and used both of the 5 long size ones for this one instead. And I think another difference that this version of Lanik has from the original is that I used the more updated hand pieces from Hero Factory 2.0 instead of the original Glatorian hands that Jang Bricks had used. Because, why don't you just stay up to date, right? So that there is Lanik. On to the next one. Now here is a MOC that I had never created until now. This here is Breeze 3.0. And before you ask, no, I have not made a Surge or Evo 3.0. I think that Jang had done a Surge 3.0. I think it was a version 1, although he never made a version 2. And I didn't want to create version 1 anyway, and I don't think they made Evo 3.0 at all. But I really thought that Breeze 3.0 looked pretty cool, so I decided to build her. Much like with a lot of the other characters that I've shown so far, this version of Breeze 3.0 looks vastly different from the original that Jang Bricks had made. Like, for starters, I think that the weapon is different. The one that I used for my version is one of those weapon pieces that was included with the Makuta Fantoka sets. I'm pretty sure that is the original series in which that weapon piece was used in. And they also created a customized sort of weapon to kind of match with what was shown in the original video, although I didn't have it be an exact replica. In fact, I think that one of the armor pieces from the original hero's legs was meant to be used for this weapon, but I only had one of them, which was in lime green, because my original Breeze came with 3 of those leg armor pieces for some reason. I think it was just a factory error, but I didn't want to use that, so I just went ahead and didn't use one of them at all. And I also, of course, true to Savage Planet, used the translucent green armor piece. This is pretty much where her exclusive print is supposed to go, except she doesn't have one because one was never made. And another difference is that the armor, her main body piece, is, in red. It was not on the original MOC because these pieces were not released in red at the time, but I just went ahead and used it because I thought that it would make the character look much better. And the mask, well, the mask is a custom mask. The original one was as well. And the one that I made is made using Model Magic, which is like an air drying clay. I know that it may just look like ordinary clay on the screen, but it's not. It's Model Magic, a type of clay that you don't need to bake. You just leave it out in the air to dry and it hardens up. Now, during the recording of this, I did actually break the mask because I was trying to get it off of the headpiece to show you guys how it looks. I did glue it back on, although it may be a bit tricky to get the mask off now. But, you know, it can come off, and I was able to get the mask to come off at least twice since gluing the two broken halves together. Once shortly before starting the recording of this part of the video, and once just now as I am currently recording. And I think that it would have been interesting to see Breeze on the Savage Planet mission because her color just really fits. I kind of imagine if she, along with maybe Surge and Evo, had gone on the Savage Planet mission, that maybe Breeze would have gone with Furno's team and, you know, faced off against those creatures. And I think it would make sense if she had gone on the mission, considering that she actually has a programming that allows her to talk to animals. So I think it was a wasted opportunity that she didn't go on the Savage Planet mission. Alright, so that right there is Breeze 3.0. On to the next one. Now here we have Blanco XL, and this one is very different from how the original one was built, mostly because I did decide to keep everything up to date mostly, such as actually giving him legs that are more based around Fire Lord, or Rocket XL, or Black Phantom. And for that, I just went ahead and had that be the same build. Although the lower legs have the ball joints that are not protected by anything else, like it's the different bone pieces that were used on the back of Fangs in the Savage Planet series. So I did have to make the feet more secure by adding in some Technic pieces to hold the two halves of the leg together. Another thing that I had done is that the feet are added on in a different way. Like the left foot is added on the same way as it would be with Fire Lord, but the other one is flipped around. This is to add the yellow ice shield to the feet, since that was how the original Blanco XL had them be. And then for the arms, well, for the upper right arm, I remember that the original upper armor piece was supposed to be one of those armor pieces with the lava texture on it. But for some reason I could not find that piece. I know that I had one of those pieces separate from the fire villains, and I'm pretty sure I didn't use it in another MOC, but I haven't been able to find it in my parts drawer. I'm pretty sure I do have it around, I just don't know where. So for the time being, at least, I just went ahead and actually had it be one of those fire add-on pieces to just a regular black, extra wide armor piece. And the hand is the same, uses the same pieces, although I did need to do some piece swapping in order to have all three of them. It certainly is quite aggravating when you are looking through your parts drawer to build a MOC and you find out that you're just one piece short from what you need. Like, you need to have 3 of the same part be used for your MOC, but you are only able to find 2. And then for the left arm, Rather than using the same weapons that Bulk and Stringer used, that were used on the original Blanco XL MOC, I just used the blasters from the Breakout series. Just kind of built it in a kind of a different way, you know, to make sure that there were two of them. I think that I did need to experiment a little bit to come up with a decent design for the blasters, because I think that the first couple of tries that I had didn't work out all that well. And I know some people will say, well, why are they both gunmetal gray? Why isn't one of them silver? Well, it's because I don't have one in silver, at least not in my parts drawer, prior to building this MOC. So I just went ahead and used another gunmetal one because it was what I had available. And I did also do my best to bring back the quadruple joints, you know, just using 6 of them, although I think I might actually have added 8 of them or something. Not entirely sure. But I just went ahead and added those in. They are added on differently from how the original was done. And then, well, for the legs, I did want to have it be somewhat the same, at least the same colors as what the original had, such as using a red armor piece for the foot on the right leg, although on the original it was actually a red Bowrock foot from Bionicle. And I did also add on lime green armor pieces for the lower right leg, and I also had added the armor pieces on for the upper legs as well. What I did was a sort of technique on how to get the ball joints to fit onto a single leg piece. I will show you how I did that, and I did that for both upper leg pieces. And I think I really like how I just added on one of the torso pieces and then also added on the 3 long size armor piece for some extra coverage. It's the same color as the same torso piece as before. And then I know some people are going to point out over by the fact that I used one of the 2.0 series hero cores on the upper left leg, not the original hero core. Well, I did not have another orange hero core from the 1.0 series in my parts drawer. I think that when I made the original Blanco XL, I actually used one of the translucent hero cores that I already had. And of course, I put that back with the heroes when I had rebuilt them. So obviously I did not have another one, so I went ahead and used one of the 2.0 series ones instead. And then for the upper body, I did use 2 of the red main body pieces along with 2 of the green hero cores, kind of giving it a sort of Christmas feel. And then for the midsection, it was supposed to be the blue skull cap piece from the 2.0 series, but unfortunately I wasn't able to find one of those in my parts drawer. I don't know if that means I don't have another one, or I do and I just didn't have any luck in finding it. I think that the original one that I made actually used the skull cap piece from Surge 2.0. So just went ahead and used whatever else I could use. I did experiment a bit, such as coming up with all sorts of different blue armor pieces that could work, with me ending up on using one of the blue Carapar armor pieces that I got off of Bricklink a couple years back. Just attached it using, I believe, a cut-out connection point on the 2.0 series visors, where I just have this connection point be cut out of the visor completely. The rest of the visor is pretty much in pieces now anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much now. And of course, obviously, the head is the same as the original Blanco 1.9 head, you know, just using the orange skull cap and the purple headpiece and fur nose goggles. So that right there is Blanco XL, my reinterpretation of Blanco XL. And now on to a couple of MOCs that I have more recently built up. These two are MOCs that I had never created before. In fact, these versions are very different, and I will explain why they are different. First off, we have Cole. Cole is a hero that JangBricks had done during the Breakout series, and the main purpose of making Cole was to use up quite a lot of the purple armor pieces that were included with the Superheroes DC Universe Ultra Build Joker set. And what I have here is pretty much basically that, but with a lot more purple added on. The armor on the legs and the arms all came from the Ultra Build Joker set, while a lot of the other pieces are, well, most of them are actually spray painted. Like the feet are spray painted because they were not released in purple, and the hands are also spray painted because, well, we never got these hand pieces in purple, obviously. And the skull cap is also spray painted in a purple color, though this one had been spray painted more recently. The others I've had for quite some time. But the main body piece itself is actually taken from Voltix, one of the villain characters that was released during the Breakout Wave 2 sets. Now, I do understand that Voltix was not released at the time that the original Cole was made, but I think that it could have been used for a primarily purple Hero Factory Hero MOC if Jang had just waited to create a primarily purple Hero MOC. But I went ahead and did my own interpretation of how Cole should look while trying to maintain his overall appearance. The original one used gold as the secondary color, although it seemed more like the primary color, as there pretty much was not a lot of purple that was used on the main body itself. It pretty much just acted like a secondary color, at least to me it did. And as far as the head is concerned, the original one was a purple head with a gold skull cap, obviously spray painted in that case as well. But this one uses a white head and a purple skull cap piece. Now, the reason why I went with a white head was because, well, I didn't think that any other color would work. I don't think that red would have worked, or blue would have worked, or yellow would have worked, or anything else. So I just went ahead with a white one because it looked pretty much the best that it could with what I was going for. And over on the back, I did also add a couple of the Zammersphere shooter pieces, though they don't have any Zammerspheres inside of them, because if they did, they would just fall out. And I just added those kind of like what was on the back of the original Cole, except on the back of the original Cole, it was just one of those blaster pieces, though in that case gold, and one of those jet pieces that came from, well, I think that they came from the 2008 Bionicle sets. I don't remember if they were released earlier than that, but I think it was in 2008 that they were introduced. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't think of any other sets before then that did have those pieces. And I also used one of those pieces for his hand, another one of those Zammersphere launcher pieces with one of the purple ball pieces to be added into the shooter. So pretty much the overall goal with this interpretation of coal is that it was, it's supposed to be coal, but it uses a lot more purple than it did before, and a lot less gold. Because, well, I guess the gold color was alright, but there wasn't enough purple, at least in my opinion. And I understand that that's because, some of these purple parts were not available at that time. In fact, by normal means, they would still not be available because, the feet and hands are spray painted, and the skull cap is also spray painted. So, that right there is coal, my interpretation of coal. Another thing that I find interesting is that I have the hero cuffs on his arm, but sometimes they may catch onto the spike on his lower arms, which is mostly unintentional. I mean, I guess it could work, but, it's not really all that much supposed to. I do really like the look of how this MOC turned out. I think that it did use plenty of the purple color. In fact, I think that this is the best primarily purple Hero Factory Hero MOC, or the best primarily purple MOC of any sort that I have ever built up. So, now on to the next one. Now here is the last one that I'm going to be looking over. This here is Keta. This is another hero that was created for the Hero Factory Breakout series, and this is a character that uses a lot of the bright green color from the DC Universe Superheroes Green Lantern set, and the torso piece is actually from the Ultra Build Joker set with the flower rubbed off of it. And again, this is another case where I just take out a number of pieces that I did not think were all that much necessary, along with, just trying to bring in more of the whole point of having this character, bringing in more of the green color. So, some substitutions that I did do is that the upper leg pieces are different. I didn't use the 5 long size armor pieces because I did not have any more of those after building some of my other MOCs. And the upper armor on the arms are also different. Like the original one had silver armor pieces on the upper arms, along with those add-on pieces that were used for Scorpio's leg pieces. I did not have any extras of those in lime green, so I just went ahead and, well, I did try to experiment a little bit on what pieces I could use for the shoulders. And in the end, I went ahead and used the green spike pieces from the Invasion from Below series. And as for the weapons are very different, mostly because of what I had available, such as the weapon piece from Green Lantern being used as one of the weapons that Keta is carrying, and then the sword piece is, well, it's built like the sword pieces from the Brain Attack series, using one of those special Technic pieces that can be used for the sword. And I just added in a sword piece, which I believe came from Raka in the Brain Attack series, along with the green lightsaber blade from the Star Wars action figure series, which came out a few years later. And also used one of those green Borak teeth pieces for the lower parts of the weapon. The original had that as well. And, as I said, I just took away some pieces that I didn't think were all that much necessary, although the weapons is not one of them. The difference with the weapons is just because of what I had. That's the body armor, just went ahead and just used the same style as the rest of the heroes. The original one used a 2.0 series main body armor, like the one from Breeze, but I went ahead and not used that because I felt like it was just adding in too much of the lime green and not enough of the traditional bright green. And I just did not want that, so just went ahead and used one of those main body armor pieces in bright green without using anything else apart from the simple hero core on the chest. And then, well, I did also add on that last armor piece from the Green Lantern set over on the back. This is something that I would normally not do, but I just wanted to add a bit more to this character as far as appearances are concerned. And I did also attach the head in the same way that Jang did with the original, a interesting little design on how to get a G1 Bionicle headpiece onto the CCBS main body piece. I'm pretty sure people have come up with other ways on how to do this sort of thing, but this is one of the simplest ways of doing it as far as Hero Factory MOC making is concerned. And I will admit, I actually thought of initially just getting a custom green Ruru off of Shapeways to add in some more of the traditional bright green color. But I decided that the lime green mask will work out. It's a lime green Kanohi Ruru from Bionicle Generation 1, and I think that it does work out for this character. Now, something that Jang had mentioned in his video is that Keta was not a character that was on the breakout mission. And I think that how the story goes is that Keta was a character that was not present during the breakout missions, and that she might have been on another mission, just somewhere else out in the galaxy, like maybe helping out with some people. Jang did mention that she was off-world doing some other things, and I think those other things were just helping citizens with everyday problems, like maybe someone was in a wreck, or maybe someone had gotten stuck somewhere and they needed help, or something. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that she was out anywhere fighting any bad guys, because she didn't have any hero cuffs, so she might have just been out on a mission that had nothing to do with catching the bad guys. So, that right there is Keta from the Breakout series, and that's pretty much where this video concludes. It did take me a while to get this video out, and I certainly am glad that you guys are still enjoying the How the Witch Doctor Stole Christmas. Some of you guys have even mentioned that you've been coming back to watch that movie every year during Christmas time since I had first posted it, and I'm glad that you guys are still enjoying that movie after so long. And I'm not quite sure what to expect from the later years as far as Bionicle and Hero Factory are concerned, since right now we don't have any announcements that either franchise is going to be coming back anytime soon, or how different it's going to be if they do come back. But I guess that as long as there are mockers out there that just continue to follow the storyline and like to come up with their own storylines, then I guess neither franchise is really dead in the water at all. So thank you so much for watching, and have a Merry Christmas.